The main event for the 200cc motorbikes and a smallish field, with many of the country's top riders in KwaZulu-Natal for a national championship motocross meeting. This would allow some less well-known riders to score points in Total Super Series 97, making the championship towards the end of the year that much more interesting. Number 44, Peter Wrigglesworth, who did that exhibition jump earlier, fighting it out for the lead with Nicholas Koller, both on Hondas. In the now familiar pattern, the two leaders were pulling away as they disputed first position. Johan de Bruyn on his Kawasaki and Sean Nel on a Honda were leading a whole gaggle of riders fighting for third. Wrigglesworth pulling a bit of a gap over Koller, but there's virtually nothing between the string of riders behind him, de Bruyn and Nel leading the way. Wrigglesworth has lots of motocross experience, but Koller was a revelation. He was keeping in contact with the leader, forcing him to go flat out and increasing the possibilities of mistakes. If Koller could keep going like this, things would become very interesting indeed towards the end of the race. The two Honda riders were clearly the class of the field. De Bruyn was still in third, but Robert Cherovich on his Kawasaki was up to fourth. Nel on his Honda was down to sixth. The two Kawasaki riders in third and fourth were pulling a gap, as did the two Honda riders in the front. Bad news for Gareth Bowen, who fell off his Kawasaki and wouldn't score in the race. But it was this battle that had the crowd on their feet. Koller was hounding Wrigglesworth into and out of every corner, throwing caution to the wind as he challenged unrelentingly. Wrigglesworth must have been wondering whether he'd ever let up. Oh, and a bit of a moment there for Koller, but he just keeps the throttle wide open. De Bruyn was comfortable in third position, so much so that he had time to adjust his fuel supply. Adam Walk on his Honda was in sixth, well ahead of Nicholas Dyack on his Kawasaki. The crowd were wondering what was going to happen in the battle for the lead, which carried on right up to the final lap. Wrigglesworth leading, Koller tracking him inch for inch. Now a new factor was thrown into the mix. The leaders were catching back markers, and this could have a decisive impact on the end result. It's Damon Johnson on his Honda, being caught and passed by both Wrigglesworth and Koller. No problem there. Just 2 corners to go and some more back markers are looming. Koller is sticking to Wrigglesworth like melted chocolate to a blanket. Through the last corner, and Koller is closing in. He's much faster through the right-hander, and as he accelerates out of the corner, a new leader and surprise winner. Koller takes it from Wrigglesworth, but with 2 wins and a second, Wrigglesworth gets the overall victory. Koller's victory and 2 second places give him second overall.
Nicholas, that was a bit unexpected, or did you work for that in a specific way?
Oh yeah, well I stayed with him the most of the race. I was just seeing his lines. Luckily on the last corner he made a bit of a mistake. Managed to capitalise on that. Hey, and I got the win. Great.
A rather small entry saw the Super Truck and Production Vehicle categories combined with the Super Specials, with the Super Trucks and Production Vehicles starting first. A great start for Kasi Coetzee in the Castrol Toyota Hilux, with the 2 creepy-crawly Ford Couriers of brothers Paolo and Claudio Piazzamuso in hot pursuit. Richard Leek in his Castrol Hilux is leading Henry Zermatten in the production category. Paolo Piazzamuso was leading his brother Claudio, who impressed in his first outing in the creepy-crawly Ford by lying second for a long time in the first heat. Meanwhile, the Super Specials took the start, and Yucky Hubert in the Jojo Tanks Beetle was leading Bux Carolyn in his lubrication equipment Chenoweth, and reigning champion Wolf Peter Fumfai in his WPP Sturmjager. Kasi Coetzee was throwing the Castrol Toyota Hilux around with gay abandon, while Paolo and Claudio Piazzamuso were trying their utmost to close the gap. The Toyota seemed to be handling much better than the Fords. The Hilux has a 2.4-litre 4-cylinder engine, delivering about 250 horsepower through a single-speed transmission, while the Fords are running 2.8-litre engines, delivering about the same amount of power through a 2-speed transmission. Interestingly, the Toyota has only a single brake disc in the middle of the solid rear axle, much like those found on racing carts. Back to the leader, and Coetzee doesn't seem to be under any pressure at all. Paolo Piazzamusso was suffering from flu, but knew that he couldn't let up for a second. Otherwise, his brother Claudio was going to shoot past as he did in the first heat. The Super Specials and a new leader, championship leader Bux Carolyn in his lubrication equipment Chenoweth, ahead of Jackie Joubert in his Jojo Tanks Volkswagen Beetle four-wheel drive turbo. Joubert elects the outside line, a longer route but a faster right-hander than the tight inside line. This time it doesn't work for him, and Carolyn holds on to his lead. Coetzee, a former rally star who won the production vehicle category in Total Super Series last year, has taken to his new stead like a duck to water, enjoying every moment. Paolo Piazzamusso, currently driving the Sasol Ford Escort in national championship rallies, was pulling away from his brother. Claudio is a multiple karting champion and was enjoying the off-road experience on his first outing, although a mechanical problem sidelined him in the second heat after he finished third in Heat 1. Coetzee, still pushing hard and making full use of those huge shock absorbers, the long travel in his suspension and the power of the Toyota engine. The gap between him and Paolo Piazzamusso was growing larger and larger. The crowd loved the spectacle, and it's always great to see a master at his craft in action. Things were a lot closer in the Super Special category, with Wolf-Peter Fumfey and his Sturmjager having passed both Joubert and Carolyn to take the lead. Meanwhile, the two creepy-crawly Fords of the Piazzamusso brothers had no answer for the Castrol Toyota Hilux of Cassie Coetzee. The track was fairly slippery after it was wetted to keep the dust down, and these big super trucks are really a handful when they go slip-sliding all over the place. Oh, and bad news for Bux Carolyn, who won both the previous heats in his lubrication equipment Chenoweth. He's not going anywhere this time, while Jackie Joubert has Warren Klaassen in his Radflow Dart to contend with. Reigning champion Fumfey is still in the lead, but under pressure. Klaassen dives through on the inside to take second position from Joubert, and up they touch wheels, sending Klaassen into the infield. No damage, it seems, as he rejoins the race, but he's lost a lot of time. Here's the battle. Joubert in the Jojo Tanks Beetle has had a lot of mechanical failures and could do with a victory. Only 2 entries in the production vehicle category, and Richard Leek in the Castrol Toyota Hilux 4x4 is leading reigning champion Henry Zermatten in his Chev. Now things are getting interesting. Coetzee is coming up to the Super Specials, and will they give way? This is what it looks like from the driver's point of view. No backmarker problems yet for Coetzee as he powers his way towards the checkered flag. Paolo Piazzamusso still in second position, and it does seem as if he's closing in on Coetzee. Claudio gets past with no problems either, and he's pushing hard too. But nobody's going to catch Coetzee if he's got anything to say about it. The crowd were enjoying this demonstration of power driving, and probably the most spectacular came from Paolo Piazzamusso. Back aboard the dealer team Hilux of Cassie Coetzee, and it's Colin Frankenberg's Scorpion looming ahead. The track was clearly drying out, and the drivers now had clouds of dust to contend with at various points on the circuit. Not that it seemed to bother Paolo in the least. Claudio Piazzamusso was still impressing in his first outing in the creepy-crawly Ford Courier. With nobody threatening his position, Coetzee could start relaxing a little bit, although it didn't seem so from the outside. The two creepy crawly Fords had no problems getting past Frankenberg's Scorpion either. With Carolyn out of the race, Fumfai could pull a little gap on Hubert, who for once didn't have a drive shaft brake on him or a tyre going flat. Fumfai has won before this season and is the reigning special vehicle champion in a car he built and maintains himself, his WPP Sturmjager. He and Hubert were pulling away from Klaasen in third position. Is anybody going to be able to catch the flying Coetzee before the end of the season? Well, 10 laps gone and not likely, judging on the performance of the dealer team Toyota Hilux since its debut in round 3 of the championship. Things were getting very busy again as the super trucks caught up with the super specials, who were in turn catching the only two production vehicles, Leek and Zermatten, fighting their own battle. Fumfai over the jump, then Coetzee bearing down on him. Behind them, Leek gets airborne with Paolo Piazzamuso going past. Claudio does the same with Zermatten and Hubert takes the jump. Coetzee goes around the outside of Fumfai, and the gap from him to Paolo Piazzamuso is a lot smaller. This is a crucial time in the race, as the leader could have been caught up behind the slower cars, but Coetzee and the Piazzamuso brothers have safely navigated themselves through. It did allow the Fords to get closer though, and Coetzee's period of relaxation is over. The race has not yet been won. Coetzee doesn't let something like this get to him though, and with time running out for the opposition, the highly successful Coetzee dealer team Hilux combination again proved the superior on the day. Coetzee took his 6th win in a row, although Paolo Piazzamuso remains in the lead in the championship in the super truck category. Richard Leek took the production category against his only opposition, Zermatten, and that's also the order in which they finished overall. 4th Peter Fumfai triumphed in the special vehicle category, and Klaasen got past Hubert to take 3rd.
Peter, a nice victory for you there.
Thanks very much. It was made easy because Max Caroline dropped out with mechanical problems, but we had a good race otherwise.
But still, the man who comes over the line first, he's the winner.
That's what I always say. You have to finish first to finish first. No, very good. I'm very happy.